give a big warm welcome and return to the AIWF for Mr. Robbie Evil!
Well, hello AIWF. It's good to be back in the Mid-Atlantic area. Been gone for a while, but right now I'm honored to do this for these guys. Yeah, out here in this ring is a tough job, but out there protecting the fans, the people in the ring, is a tougher job. So I'm here tonight to induct the class of 2021 90s security team. Just give them a hand right now because they do a tough job. We like to recognize Big Don, Doc Holiday, Spear. Quick story, Spear is the only person in the AIWF to ever get burned more than I did. He was set on fire one night, and there was a big pile of fire, and he was underneath it. We were somewhere. He was on fire. It was a big pile. But remember him? And this one right here, Peanut. Everybody loves Peanut. GW and Kenny. Sad to say that we have lost GW, but you know we still remember him for his work. And last, this is the only one tonight that has actually made it here, so I'm going to introduce him now. We'd like to have Lonnie come to the ring. Lonnie, on behalf of AIWF and a Hall of Famer myself, I'd like to present you with this trophy as a class member of the 2020 Hall of Fame.
Thanks, sir.
You don't say nothing. Give them something.
Okay, well, thank y'all for all coming out through the years. Support us.
Give them one big hand right there.
There's water all over the floor. We're fighting to get the water out too. We got so humid in here. We're ready for a southern storm. Yeah.
Man, a few words.
Praying for a cold front coming.
All right, David Steele, are you here? David, could you come on down, please? Ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter of the evening, one half of the War Machines, and they ran roughshod here in the AIWF back in the 90s. Here's David Steele, ladies and gentlemen. Please give him a warm welcome.
A lot of people in the current, excuse me.
I need you in front of the camera, Dave.
A lot of people in the current customer base, I guess you call it, didn't really know Wild Walter unless you've done a lot of serious Google digging back in the day. Him and Big Rick Z messed a few people up around here, but that's kind of their job. That's what they did, and they loved what they did. He's the one. Him and Rick Savanovic, Rick Z, are the two that started my training over in little old Morristown, Tennessee, in a building really no bigger than this ring because the walls were the ropes. So He was something else, I'll tell you that right now. But everything that we are and a lot of things that you see is because of things that he started and Rick Z started and passed along and so on and so on. So it is my privilege and my honor to make sure to take this back to the resting place of Wild Walter in Tennessee and let him know wherever he is how much each and every one of you appreciate. Give Walter a big hand. Y'all have a good evening. You're gonna have a hell of a show tonight. Tell your friends. All right.
Thank you very much, David Steele. All right. To introduce our next presenter of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Mount Airy welcome to AIWF Hall of Famer Brian Danzig.
I've wrestled a lot of guys throughout my career, more than literally I can remember. There are literally some guys I do not remember wrestling them. I've had people come up to me and they're like, yeah, we wrestled in '01 in North Wilkesboro. Oh, yeah. I didn't remember. I have no idea. But, you know, what are you going to do? I don't remember you. And you just say, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. But this next guy is definitely not in that category. Not only do I remember him, he is one of my all-time favorite people that I've ever gotten in the ring with. Because he's just one of those guys that gets it. They understand what wrestling is all about. And what wrestling is all about is you guys. It's about putting on a show for the fans. It's not about putting yourself over. It's not about winning belts. It's about putting on a good show. And by doing that, that's how you put yourself over. You don't worry about ego. You worry about putting it all on the line for the fans. And this guy did it each and every time he got in the ring with me or anybody else. And so that's what I wanted to say. And I'm going to give the mic over to, you may know her as Pagan. She's wrestled Christine also. And she will have a few words she wanted to say about Chris.
Thanks. All right, so when I started wrestling, women wrestling was not popular. It was, to say the least, you watched it for other reasons than wrestling. So when Rick Diesel allowed me to actually become a wrestler in the AIWF, I was fighting that the way most people looked at women's wrestling. And I was wrestling with Brian, and Chris was one of the wrestlers who always treated me with the utmost respect. He treated me like a member of the family, and he treated me like an honest-to-God wrestler. And I will always remember that about Chris. Chris never pulled a punch on me, which sometimes I wish he had. Chris gave it to me just as hard as he gave it to every other wrestler that he ever worked in this organization. We put on some great matches with a lot of violence and a lot of blood, which was a lot of fun. And Chris is very deserving of this. He is a great worker, and he is a great person. Not only did we wrestle Chris, he became a really good friend of ours, and he deserves this so much. So that's just what I want to say.
All right, so let's not keep him waiting any longer. He's got a big presentation at the dojo here later, so let's bring him on out. Chris Teddy!
Oh, yeah.
As a kid, or a child growing up, watching wrestling on TV was one of my biggest dreams to step in this squared circle. In 1999, the AIWF and its commissioners was kind enough to give me that opportunity along with two other individuals, Richie Mitchell and Sensei Nikki Heath at the School of Hard Knocks. We had our debut match. It made it to the BBC documentary on the AIWF. If you have a chance to check that out, Wild Weekends of Louis Theroux, definitely do that if you have not. With that being said, these two, in about 2000, became two of my very best and dearest friends that I ever had. Tuesday evenings, they lived in a little apartment here in Mount Airy. We crammed in there and we watched wrestling. We watched Silver and Ollie, you name it, we watched it. If it was off the beaten path, we was right there in it. And I definitely want to thank them for doing the induction for me. It means the world to me. I want to thank Rick Diesel for being part of that. And also, Brian was one of the ones, the main one that had trained me for this. And another fellow sitting right over here, Mr. Robbie Evil, who also became one of my very best and dearest friends. I'm going to cut it a little bit short. I know I might get long-winded. I might even tear up. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you, folks and fans, for coming out. If it was not for you, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're here as a fan or you're here backing up a family member, if it was not for you, this would not be. We'd just be a bunch of old sweaty men and women beating each other around the ring and nobody watched. And we definitely want to extend our thanks to every one of you. Have a good evening and enjoy the show tonight.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter. Let me introduce and give a warm welcome to AIWF Mid-Atlantic Co-Commissioner, Smiling Diamond Dave.
All right, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you here to this Hall of Fame induction. You know, this next guy that's up means a lot. We go back a lot of years, even before he becomes the third member of the TBA. I met him, I was going into my ex-wife's house. He was coming out, and that's the first time I ever met him. As I was a party there. So, but Don come through years later and he said, which he had been around, he said he wanted to bring a third member into the PBA that we could count on, that wouldn't disappoint. And he threw the name and we talked about it. And I
I couldn't think of a better person to be that third member of the Tennessee Violence Authority with me and Don than this gentleman. He is also known for his brutalness, his recklessness, and his chair shots. He is known as the man that invented the chair shot heard around the world. And I learned that night, you never try to explain to this gentleman how to give a chair shot, because he clearly knows how. So at this time, making his way in to the 2021 AIWF Hall of Fame, I'd like everybody to make welcome James.
This is probably one of the best honors I've ever had outside of having children. I guess there's a lot of people I got to thank. Don Carson, number one. You can't really do anything in the AIWF without the TVA or Don Carson. The history's there, it's always going to be there. And yeah, I gave a lot of chair shots, took a lot of chair shots, tried not to take any chair shots, but you know, it happens. Me and Dave go back a long way. Me and Rick Diesel go back a long way. Scott Mitchell, Sledge, member of the TVA over here. This is a big honor for me. There's a lot of sacrifices. And you new guys coming up, that's one thing you need to think about. Is not the sacrifices you're making, but the sacrifices your family is making. Because there's going to be girlfriends that go away, there's going to be children that are left behind, and those sacrifices, that's where the real support comes from. Is your kids that are sitting at home waiting on you while you're doing this thing. So, I'm not going to say any more. Thank you very much, AIWF. Thank you, Rick Diesel, very much. Rick Diesel has been putting this thing together for longer than most people has been alive. He is the man, and probably one of the most creative minds, and that's not just a gimmick that he ran. One of the most creative minds in the wrestling world. He gave a lot of us what we're banking on now. Thank you very much. It's great to be back in Mount Airy. And this is the first time I've ever been in this building.
Alrighty, you all get to hear me again. You know, it's an honor for me to get to induct James and this next gentleman. Years ago, me and Don had the opportunity, this guy told me he wanted to be trained to wrestle. And he started just like we started in the front yard. No ring, learning the basics. That's the way we taught him. But anybody that knows Don's wife knows she did not like and could not stand wrestling. You didn't mention the word wrestling in her house or around her. And we told this gentleman that. When we go inside to get something to drink, do not say wrestling or anything pertaining to it. So we go inside and we're standing there, and Don's wife is washing the dishes and got pots and glasses and dishes and bowls. And we're standing there, and of course me and Don standing at the front of the bar, and he's standing behind us. And lo and behold, she asked him how he's doing. Oh, I'm loving it. I hear training to wrestle. And that's all it took. We had to do the military low crawl on our elbows and knees because of the flying dishes, the pots, the glasses, the bowls. She was throwing them at us to hurt us. So, he's hard-headed. He didn't want to listen sometimes, but I am very proud of the man that he's become, the legacy that he leaves in this business, not only for the AIWF, but he went on to have his own organization, and the things that he done there. And it is truly an honor to be able to induct, I'm still going to say it, one of our trainees. So if you would, put your hands together and let's make welcome to the 2021 AIWF Hall of Fame, Major Havoc.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank all the Mount Airy fans that are here. I'll tell you, I've wrestled all over the East Coast, worked for a lot of different promotions, even had my own. But somehow, I always came back full circle and ended up back here in Mount Airy because Mount Airy wrestling fans are by far some of the best in the world. So give yourselves a hand for that one. Well, there are several people I'd like to thank. We'll start out with I'd like to thank God. I'd like to thank Don Carson, rest his soul, for getting me into this business and training me. Of course, David over here, smiling down at Dave, had a hand in my training and getting me started in this business. And of course, Rick Diesel. Without him, none of us would be here. We started out in the early days, and a lot of us carried the torch and made the AIWF the entity that it is today. And all the guys that came up with an idea, you know, I salute them because we went through the ECW era and everybody wanted to see barbed wire, these light bulbs, thumbtacks, setting stuff on fire. We did some crazy stuff. And back in the day, I remember if Rick Diesel walked up to you and said, "Hey man," and put his arm around you and said, "I got something I want you to do," you was gonna hurt for at least 7 days afterwards. I promise, I promise. But, yeah, those people I touched along the way, and you know, I'm really honored to be here with Chains. Me and him worked many great matches together, and it's a huge honor for me to share this podium with him and the TVA, member Dave. But anyway, I just want to thank God and everybody that helped me get where I was and am, and this is a huge honor for me. I'd say top 5 of my lifetime. Some people work in this business their whole lives and don't get in any Hall of Fame. So this is a huge honor for me. And again, I would like to thank the fans because without you guys, we would be nothing, okay? I love you guys. Thank you again. Thank you for all the powers that be. here at the AIWF, the Hall of Fame committee, and Matt, and a lot of these guys that work behind the scenes. I appreciate it, 100%. I love you guys, and I'm out.